pipe it right. If you have to have a dryer on your refrigeration right at the coil, put it at the coil. You don't make up the rules here.
Yeah. And
do it the right way, and everything lasts longer, operates better, uses less energy, all these things. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Bank Trades Great Again podcast. Andy and I, we are together forever, baby.
Together.
I don't even know. Again, yet another episode. I'm just babbling about crazy stuff.
Just rambling on.
I know. So this is going to be a fun one. I can feel it already. We got some comments coming in. You'll start with that. I got an idea before we're done. Hopefully we can get to it. We'll talk about callbacks.
Yeah.
All right. So it's comment session again. What do you got? You got something in emails?
Well, yeah, we got an email. But first off, if you're I just want to throw this out there because everybody that's got a social media account loves these kinds of comments. If you could send a shitty comment, I'm going to say that word just because. If you're
wait, are we going to talk about bad comment?
No, I'm just going to air out a little dirty laundry for a second.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
If you're going to just send an uneducated, uninformed comment about how I'm doing it wrong or Eric's doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Do me a favor. Why don't you ask a few questions so you have some context before you make yourself look like an ass? Just saying. Enough said.
I think you're referencing a specific. I think I know what you're talking about.
I don't even know what the account's name is, but
yeah, it was an Instagram post, and that video has 3-4 million views on it. I think maybe more. I don't know.
Yeah. This guy apparently is the only professional welder that's going to graduate in 25.
Okay. So there you go, folks. If you think you're smart, you're not.
Yeah. Maybe
before you comment on something to Andy, think it through and ask somebody else for opinions first.
Yeah. Or ask me a question about it. And then maybe we can have an intelligent conversation. So I don't, tell you you're an idiot.
Man. You're preaching to the choir, brother.
Eric's never ever had a comment like that.
Yeah, I've never had anybody comment stupid stuff. All right, so we got somebody wrote in. What do we got? We got an email.
So we have it says new listener.
Okay.
So Reed, I probably maybe saying his name correctly. I think it's Reed Wiens, up in British Columbia, Canada. We get a lot of our northern friends writing into us.
Yeah, the Canadians are really into this show.
We're
big in Canada and Lithuania.
It's our top listenerships right there.
Yeah,
Canada and Lithuania.
Yep.
Yeah.
Random,
super random. Anyway, so Reed does a whole bunch. Looks like building maintenance, water sewer line repairs, whatnot. So he's working on a project at his house.
Yeah.
And he says, have you ever heard of evacuated tube solar collectors? Do you install them? And then do you have an opinion on them? And in the future, I'd like to use them to accompany an outdoor wood boiler for my house. Thoughts on that combo? So let's start with that.
Have we ever used them? I have.
Yes.
I've installed, I've worked on and installed and worked on just a couple. They're not very common around here.
Yep. I've got more evacuated tubes installs than I do flat plate installs.
Okay.
I don't know the truth of this. Years and years and years ago, what was the name of that company that was big? They're gone now. Anyway, doesn't
like Solar Skies or something like that.
No, it was Oventrop. They're gone in the U.S. I don't think they're gone.
No,
globally.
European
they're big,
or something like
big
that.
Europe, but I don't think they sell in the U.S. anymore. Anyway, I went to a training seminar. They talked about their flat plates and their evacuated tubes, and their evacuated tubes had the ability to generate higher water temperatures.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Maybe not quite as efficient in the terms of gathering low level radiation, but they had the ability to generate higher water temps. And so that's generally why I've leaned towards evacuated tube. I think they're easier to, in certain brands, you can replace individual tubes. So if you ever break one, if you get a hailstorm or something like that, you can swap a tube out.
Yeah, if the seal usually, I mean, they don't typically break physically. Usually, it's a seal on them that breaks. So then you lose that vacuum seal.
Yep, they'll get foggy. Yep. So I think in Reed's case, it looks like he's going to do a wood boiler. Sorry to all of our wood boiler fan listeners out there. I'm going to just ask you how much you like splitting wood. If that's what you enjoy and you have like a forest in the back 40 and you've just got ample amounts of wood, great, go for it. I'm not a wood splitter. I don't like it.
Well, so with proper engineering, installation, everything taken care of, 110%. It sounds like he could create something that where he could possibly use less wood.
Sure.
But yeah, no, okay. Let's get the wood thing out of the way real quick because you brought it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't put a wood boiler in. I freaking hate them. No, it's not true. It's not true.
Yeah. They have their place for sure.
The outdoor wood, technically it's a furnace because it's not pressurized. Outdoor wood furnace. Those are not, look, you're married to the thing.
Yeah.
You can't go on vacation without having somebody come and then tend to that thing for you. And I don't know, I could pick out 10 friends of mine and each one of them would do that maybe once if I could convince them to do it, but they wouldn't do it a second time, all 10. That's the 10 out of 10 are not going to want to do it 2 vacations in a row. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. There's a lot of things that I look at in a wood boiler install. And I think this is one of the downfalls to most of the sales pitch, I guess, on a lot of wood boiler companies.
They sell them on lower cost energy.
Yeah, they're great until you, like Eric just said, until you're not home to do that. And then, like, let's say you have a gas fired backup, right? Let's say you got propane backup as your backup, or electric backup.
Or electric, it's very common.
Electric's super common here too.
Yeah.
In that case, you have to do one of two things. You have to glycol it regardless. One option is you use your electric boiler to maintain the heat in the wood boiler, right? So now you have this wood boiler. If it's an outdoor wood boiler, you're going to heat this box that's sitting in the yard that's not overly insulated, right? It's got a decent insulation on it, but they have a heat loss, right? I mean, it's a vented cylinder with a big burner box under it. It's definitely going to lose heat. You have to either heat that, or you have to have adequate controls and bypasses in place to isolate that component so that it doesn't freeze up. Because when you come back, if it's 20 below zero, your glycol is going to be super thick, right? Because if you're running glycol that's rated for 20 below zero outside, it's going to be a thick, sloppy mess.
Like log cabin syrup.
Right. And you don't necessarily want to run that high a glycol rate through your entire house. So in a lot of cases, there's a braze plate in there,
Well, there should be a braze plate heat exchanger in the house, regardless of glycol or anything, simply because you've got an open system in that outdoor unit.
Yep. Yeah. If you don't have a braze plate, then you got to go all non-ferrous pumps, controls, air separators, vents. Make sure everything's rated to be an open system. A lot of boiler manufacturers do not like open system style stuff. Like all your high efficiency boilers, they don't play well with open systems. There's
nothing
just
really.
Enough restriction.
I guess you could make the argument for like cast iron, I suppose, but
yeah, you could.
No thanks.
Yep.
Yeah.
So okay. Anyway, off of wood boilers. Just
I wouldn't
a few things to know about. I'm not a like I say, if you got a baseball team worth of kids and they like splitting wood, need something to do, that's it's great. But a wood boiler will gobble up a pile of wood.
Let's keep going on this wood.
Yeah, let's keep going.
We said we weren't gonna, but we're gonna.
We're just gonna keep.
We got people around here that'll go try to buy a model that they can like throw whole pallets in, and I look at them and like, you burn pallets, then this thing's gonna last you 10 years, not a day longer. Oh, that ain't true. I'm like, my neighbor does it. I'm like, yeah, for the last 8 years, and he's gonna buy a new boiler next year.
Yeah,
it's gonna burn holes because that cheap, crappy, dirty wood.
Yeah,
that's really common. Poor wood. Like poor wood choice. If you don't have great, like if you're trying to burn like pine in this crap all the time,
It's
like first
tough.
of all, don't do it. It's not even worth it.
It's got a really low BTU content per pound. If you look at it.
Tons of water in it, tons of soot,
creosote.
the creosote, the sap, everything. But the evacuated tube, I've done a couple of them. Like I said, flat collectors here are pretty popular. They're inexpensive. Performance is pretty darn good.
Yeah,
we're lucky. I think Montana is very similar to Minnesota in this respect. We have great solar exposure in Minnesota, as high as other places in the country, like Florida, even, believe it or not. And our only downfall to solar here in Minnesota is it gets really cold in the wintertime.
Yeah.
So that's why you don't see a lot of it, because the efficiency is obviously impacted with that colder weather. In Minnesota, I do think that evacuated tubes would be a better product for a solar system, but the cost compared, like the solar I run into, it's more flat collectors, and I'm guessing because of cost. But
yeah, one of the things you have to think about in the northern climates is with your either evaporated tube or flat plate, is you need to think about how you're going to shed snow. A lot of installs that we come across are just set on the roof at that same pitch. They're 4 or 6 inches off the roof. And that's not a great, they need to have enough elevation that snow will shed, maybe not while it's falling, but as soon as they warm up a little bit. I was just on
you don't want them on like a 412, but if you get 6, that's pushing it. 7 plus is probably just fine.
Yep. It'll shed. Some of the evacuated tubes, if they're open on the back, they'll shed snow quite well. But the thing with an evacuated tube, if they have the aluminum reflector, like a solid plate in the back, they'll pack up with snow in there, and then they just don't shed snow because they don't generate heat.
They're not hot to touch in the same way that a flat plate collector can warm up on the surface.
Yeah. So just some things to think about.
Yeah. That was actually one of the biggest problems that one of the evacuated tube jobs that I've serviced over the years. I didn't install either one of them, actually. I've worked on both, put it that way. That was the snow problem, like packing in between the tubes and like becoming like a big ice chunk kind of thing.
Yep.
Is like the biggest challenge for that job, to be honest with you, all winter long. It's amazing how much energy you can create, though. And this comment's coming from British Columbia too, by the way.
Yep.
Winter climate, North American winter climate, sure, but it also like subtropic region.
Yep.
And so like your winters can be cold. There's no doubt, can be nasty, I'm sure, but pretty mild by comparison to your like Calgarian neighbors and stuff, because you get, out toward the coastal region like that. I see, from what I've understood, like a lot of nice in Fahrenheit, like 25, 30 degree days on the cold end, like that's not bad at all.
And if you got even moderate, cloud cover, all of those plates do work pretty darn good.
It's well, Doug and Amanda, you were at their house, and that's got that big 120-gallon tank in the basement indirect with 2 coils in it. One of them's connected to just 2 panels on the roof. And by our estimation, in the summertime, they're making pretty much all their hot waters. In the wintertime, Doug's like, I'm sure this thing's making a couple 100 gallons a day on a normal sunny winter day in Minnesota. So that's not bad.
No, that's great.
But connecting them together.
Yeah.
I mean, the big thing about that makes solar thermal like attractive is free heat, right? Free energy when the sun, every day the sun's going to come up kind of thing.
Yeah.
The challenges with solar thermal, and not unlike PV, you have to be able to store energy because you can only make it during the day.
Right.
And you're going to have a load on the system. So the big challenge, honestly, with solar and hydronics at all is being able to store like a mass amount of water that you've worked to heat all day long.
Yeah. There's some really innovative concepts out there. I've done over the years. I haven't worked on one for quite a few years.
Yeah.
I've got one job that I work on every few years. We go out and do a boiler service on this house, kind of remote. They have a 3-season screen porch that they've converted into now it's got nice glass.
Oh, people can't help themselves. They're like, we got 3 seasons. We need 4.
But what they did underneath of this thing in the initial was they dug this big section out in front of the house, and they filled it up basically I don't know if must have tubing through the bottom of it. There's like a bunch of loops of poly pipe in the bottom. And then there's some on top as well. Maybe it's a couple layers of it.
But they made a heat exchanger.
They made a heat battery, a thermal battery under that 4
People,
season.
I've seen like diagrams and like write-ups and stuff of like septic tanks being used as heat exchanger batteries and stuff with like basically
damp sand.
Yeah, or you can actually like they use different types of mixtures of like I don't know if like salt water is one of the things that like doesn't evaporate at the same rate or something like that. And that
doesn't get mildewy or moldy look.
Something like that. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
But my point is bringing it up at all was like, solar's great, works well with wood, I guess. I mean, if you think about it, because even with wood, your more efficient systems are going to be able to do it through like mass storage. Yeah. So like if you could try to maintain a big buffer battery, John Siegenthaler writes about that. That's a good thing to reference too for this commenter. Is if you haven't heard of John Siegenthaler, just Google the name, you'll figure it out. It's John Siegenthaler PE, or I think that's professional engineer, right? Yeah. He's an engineer. He owns a company called Design Innovations, or I don't know. He gives talks, webinars. You can see him in person, learn in his classes. And he's an author of some like 4th edition now of a book called Modern Hydronics.
Yep. Great book, by the way.
It's a fantastic reference to anybody listening to this anyway. I've talked about this book many times, different videos, lives on my Instagram, things like that. It's a great book. The newest version is going to include like lots of new technology. That's how he's updated this book over time. We kind of call it the Hydronics Bible. He does talk about solar thermal and biomass and all kinds of stuff like that. And really, if you're following like what he as an engineer is saying we should be doing is more storage, to be honest with you. He's like, get as big a tank as you can find a space for.
Yeah, especially with the alternative energy side of things.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it on a wood boiler, if you were going to take your wood boiler and you're going to load it up with wood, right? You're going to make a run. Mm-hmm. In most cases, that boiler's going to run. It's going to heat your system up. Your system's going to come up to temperature, to a stable operating temp. You're going to get some warm return water back. And then that boiler's going to overheat and cycle down, right? So it's going to close up dampers. It's not going to shut off, but in a lot of the outdoor boilers, they'll basically close up the air inlet damper. It'll go to a smoldering fire.
Yeah, because they can't do anything with whatever they could produce for heat. Yeah.
But if you had the ability to, let's say your firebox held 300 pounds of hardwood, if you could burn 300 pounds of hardwood and store the entire load of heat and then utilize it for the next 8 hours, that's the best possible.
Well, yeah, that storage thing achieves 2 things. You can only make heat from the wood if you're burning the wood, right? So when that, like you're talking about early on, like that thing goes out, now you got cold boiler, all this stuff. It's a big problem.
Partially burned wood.
Yeah. And the other thing is when you burn wood, you're like 40% efficiency, maybe. And so at least half the energy is just going right out.
Right.
And you can tell me how great your boiler is all you want. I've seen 1,000 wood boilers. If I've seen one of them, they're all garbage. In this, what we're talking about, not, you know what I mean? They're not efficient.
They're not garbage, but
no, they're not garbage.
Yeah.
You're not going to put one log in that thing and heat 400 gallons of water for, 2 days and get every calorie of freaking BTU out of it. It's not going to happen.
No.
It's going to go out the chimney. But anyway, the big thing it achieves is make make hay when the sun shines, that kind of thing. And storing water, like your example, put 300 pounds of wood in it, burn it all day long, but don't shed any of it to, waste. Store it and use it later.
Right.
That's the other thing. And then there's a whole bunch of cool benefits of that too.
Yeah.
So
stay with us. We'll be right back.
hey guys, I want to invite you to visit mechanicalhub.com, because if you want to stay on top of the plumbing and heating industries and what's happening, you're going to want to visit our website, mechanicalhub.com. There's a hyphen in there between mechanical and hub. Don't ask. It's a long story. Anyway, while you're there, don't forget to sign up for our weekly newsletters. All right. The newsletter is packed with the latest news, trends, tips to keep you on top of your game. So whether you're in the shop or out in the field, we got you covered. So head over to mechanicalhub.com and join our community today. And hey, thanks for listening to the Make Trades Great Again podcast. Have a good one.
So, Reed, when you're looking at that, there's some really cool, if you don't have storage, there's some really cool ways of doing that. Reverse indirect is a really cool way of doing that. Thermo 2000 makes some really nice big reverse indirect tanks.
Which basically you're using a big buffer tank to make hot water.
Yep. So anyway, okay. So his next part of his question was,
why do you hate Taco zone pumps?
No, that was last week.
Oh, dang. Okay.
So, and to clear the air, Eric doesn't hate Taco pumps.
No, I don't.
We're not sure quite where that came from, but anyway. What are the essentials to making a boiler system install serviceable?
Oh,
what do you got? What's your number one? Pick one of them.
I'm going to say one thing, and it's so ridiculous because somebody's going to be like, that's lame. But hear me out. Proper piping. And I'm going to say this about maintenance. At least 50% of the problems we see, probably more. Like if I go on 10 service calls, I bet you 5 of those service calls are come down to things like the piping was just never right from the start.
Yeah.
Or we've had 4 people come here try to get this thing to heat and it just doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
And they've done this, and this, and this. Well,
we burn so much propane and we don't understand why we have this high efficiency boiler and we're burning so much propane.
Yeah. The maintenance, boilers, efficiency. You could talk about a furnace and ductwork, same thing.
Yeah.
Not enough airflow, things like that.
Yep.
Maintenance comes down to product failure, basically, is what people are really dealing with, talking about when they talk about maintenance. They don't talk, it's reactive, right?
Sure.
We did this. The guy said it was right. It didn't last as long as we thought. Follow the instructions, pipe it right, like duct it right, pipe it right. If you have to have a dryer on your refrigeration right at the coil, put it at the coil. You don't make up the rules here.
Yeah. And
do it the right way, and everything lasts longer, operates better, uses less energy, all these things.
I'm going to want to elaborate just a little bit on that pipe it better, and don't use the rule of thumb. No. Or don't be like, this is the way we've always done it. Well, it's likely that you've always done it wrong.
Yeah, actually,
right?
That's
really
actually
high likelihood.
It is very likely.
So there's the instructions in the book are there for best possible operation as the manufacturer engineered the product.
And make no mistake, that's the minimum. Right. Like the instruction, the manual, this is how it should be done. That's the minimum. You can do it better.
Yeah.
But none of it is there to make it inconvenient for you by adding extra components you don't think are important because you don't understand how they work.
It's one of the interesting things that I've found with like Wiesmann diagrams, and I'm not to beat Wiesmann's horn, but if you look at most of the Wiesmann drawings, almost every one of them shows a low loss header.
Yeah, they'll give you
never show closely spaced tees because they screw up closely spaced tees. Like so many ways to Sunday. You can make that wrong.
They don't give you the illustration with it. They just give you a little bubble off to the side saying, and if you're not going to use a low loss header, AKA you're a dummy. do this.
Right.
You know?
and so if anybody out there's looking for there's some really great low loss headers out there. Caleffi makes a really nice.
There's so many.
Separator.
Webstone
does.
Spirotherm, of course.
Yep.
Yeah. No,
Yep.
there's a bunch of them.
Yep. If you're looking for a low loss header with a little bit of storage volume, that Zilmit ZBT7 that Eric and I have posted about is like pretty Cadillac for what's out
one
there.
One of those in my next
inexpensive.
install in a couple weeks here.
Yeah. I got 3 of them sitting in the job trailer, ready to roll out the next couple jobs here.
They're pretty sweet.
I mean, realistically, and this has been a long term thing. If you're looking for the simplest way to pipe a boiler, like plain and simple, and especially if you have technicians that work for you, and I don't mean this because my guys are too dense to figure out how to pipe it right. That's not the case at all. They're very, very capable of doing whatever. I've looked at it in the sense that this is literally the most efficient way to install the boiler is to put the boiler on the wall, put a low loss header on the wall, put the indirect over here, and then connect the pipes between them.
Yeah.
Right. You can't, you almost can't physically do that wrong.
Well,
Right. I mean, you can. I did it.
I did it recently.
Yeah. I've had a couple boilers piped backwards, but,
that's what I did.
but for the most part though, I mean, you look at it and you're like, I come out of the boiler and I go to here and I come into the boiler right here and I came out of this port here. I don't have to put T's in there. I don't have to guess where the water's going to go.
Well, it's not even, none of that's not, I don't even think that's important. Okay. I'm not saying it's not important that you brought it up.
Yeah.
I don't even think that's the most important detail of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
When we're talking about maintenance, doing it right,
Sure.
You're right. All of that is important.
Yeah.
Do it that way. It's efficient. I think what you're talking about is a bonus. It's a bonus it's a bonus that it's efficient. It's quick. It's pretty hard to screw up. As it relates to this conversation, maintenance, what are some good things to think about when I decide when I'm going to install this system? And right away, we're like, just pipe it right. Just pipe it right. Right. And then your detail, low loss header. I don't know why you wouldn't install one on every boiler. I think you're talking about the big, of something of importance, especially for you having to direct a few guys out in the field, is the efficiency. But what you check off all the boxes. It's one device. It does air, it does dirt, it does hydraulic separation. It can give you a sensor temperature port if you need. Yep. You can give you a way to dose the system. You can get filtration in it with a magnet. There's all of these things that it does.
Yeah.
That make maintenance in your system last longer. All things that are actually really beneficial. And you can do it with way less connections, which is that efficiency side that you're jazzed up about.
Yep. I think the next whatever, I don't know what number we're on now. I got lost, but anyway, the next one that I think is important, service clearance. That manufacturer is going to give you a listed service clearance, top, bottom, side, left, back, underneath, inside, outside, whatever. Do it. Don't skimp yourself. If it says 0 to the left side, okay, fine. If it says 0 to the left side and then you need 24 inches on the right, then do that. Don't put your water heater 24 inches to the right, because now you just screwed yourself when you got to go take the heat exchanger out.
Yeah, I know, but it's always done that way before I get there. So then what?
Yeah. Well, here's a prime example. Tristan and I just got through fighting a, Hobbit house.
Oh my God, you're
boiler
hobbits?
I felt like one. I mean, I had stood up and I was like 9.5 feet tall when I got done.
It's like Alice in Wonderland in here.
Exactly. I'm like waiting for somebody to climb out of a shoe in the basement. But anyway,
right now.
I don't even know where that came from. It's just, we had a Weil McLean Ultra, right? One of my least favorite boilers to work on anyway.
Mine too.
That they put it under the stairs. Right. So they slip this thing under the stairs.
Boilers don't belong under stairs, people.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The top of the boiler, like anybody that's worked on a Weil McLean Ultra, Series 1, Series 2. I don't know about the 3s because we don't see very many. Series 2 has this plastic cone box over the top of the control board, right? It is screwed on with 4 screws. We had to literally pick that up 1/4 of an inch because it was hitting the ceiling.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's what's there. Or there was a piece of 3/4 pipe above that. So cover would just barely clear up enough to slide off the front to get to the bezel or get over the little display bezel. Above that piece of 3/4 pipe was drywall and the landing of the stairs above us.
So it just didn't fit.
It didn't fit.
It shouldn't have been there. Service clearance.
No,
it shouldn't have been there.
Shouldn't have been there. And so if you've ever done a controls upgrade on a Weil McLean Ultra, I highly don't recommend it. You'll be frustrated. There'll be choice words said, ill wishes, wish towards those you don't even know.
And their grandmothers.
And right, maybe, possibly. I could have said some things that I regret. But that's a terrible controls upgrade.
Yeah.
I get it. You don't make the old one. Don't make me take a round hole and turn it into a rectangle. Like, serious.
What?
Dude, I'm not kidding you.
I know.
That
It's
control
crazy.
upgrade literally comes with instructions that say, remove the old grommet, the rubber grommet with the wiring harness, like cut the harness off, take the old grommet out, and take a pair of dikes and stretch and bend a round 1/2-inch knockout into a 1/2 by 1.25-inch rectangle, right?
I lost you. You lost me. I'm
And then,
totally lost.
And then to the creme de la creme, like the finishing sauce on this install,
The creme de la creme.
there's
best.
a tube of RTV silicone that comes with the control board upgrade, and you're supposed to fill the hole where the rectangular rubber grommet doesn't fill the hole. Right?
I bet you what was that, like NEC? That's rated, right?
That's got to be. Yeah. I just said, no, we're not siliconing it because I will have silicone on my elbows by the time we're done.
I'm going to quote one of my former apprentices, Brent Buelow, right now. Silicone! Because it's like, he'd be like, hey, I got a leak. I'm like, silicone! Just, what are you supposed to silicone your electrical enclosures now? I don't think that's right.
That's how you make it a direct vent cabinet still. I get it. Okay, so control board fails, you tear the boiler out, or you put the upgrade in. You pick.
Yeah. Well, in that case, walk away fast. Run. We're sidetracked.
Service clearances. That's where I ended.
Service clearances. Pipe it right.
Yep.
If you think you need another valve, put another valve in. Valves they're cheaper today than they will be next time.
Here's an easy one that it's easy to kind of forget. Power. You should have easy access to electrical connections, right? Like, your power switch. If you have a boiler that's under the stairs, it's in a poor location, you shouldn't have to stand up and walk around the side of the water heater to get to the power switch, right? It should be within arm's reach. And that's mostly code. It says I think it's got to be within 5 feet. But if you got to walk around something to get to the switch, you know what? When bad things are happening, you need to be able to turn the power off.
I need my switches to have switches.
I need my switches.
Okay.
I
wanted to talk about callbacks, but we're going to do that in another episode. We're at the end here. I'm not even going to know what to title this thing. We're just all over the place.
Andy rants.
Andy, yeah. Listen to Andy. He will tell you about switches.
Yep. Came from the gym. I might be all jacked up on pre-workout.
I like this pre-workout Andy. Right. All right. I'm going to end it.
Okay.
I got to remind everybody, a little housekeeping. Hit us up in the DMs over on Instagram. The link is in the show notes here on your streaming app. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you so much. And those who aren't, why not? Subscribe over on the Mechanical Hub YouTube channel. And as always, Andy, thank you so much. And have a good day, dude.
All right. Yep. One last thing. Huge shout out, Reed. Thank you for writing in.
There you go.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Wien.